Hello guys, it's teacher Yolanda here and welcome to our session 8. Now, what we have to do today is to fetch our English notebook. Please, go and get it. Today we're also going to watch a video again. This one's going to be on the scientific method, for which we will need to see some new vocabulary regarding science. And we also have to check some of our grammar. The grammar will be may and might and also supposed to. Let's get to it, shall we? First of all, we're going to check may and might for possibility. Remember that may and might are both synonyms. There is no difference, and both of them mean perhaps or maybe. Here we have Ben illustrating an excellent example. I may go to Italy next year. He says may because it's just a probability, something that it's possible. But that doesn't mean that it's true, it's not a plan. Remember that when we want to talk about plans, what future shall we use? We should use future going to when it comes to plans. But when it comes to something that we are not so sure about, we're going to use may and might. Remember, this sentence could be I might go to Italy next year. Next example, it says, let's take an umbrella. It might rain. Okay, so this one could be substituted either for it's going to rain or it might rain. When we are not sure and we want to express that, well, maybe the sky looks a little bit gray, but we don't exactly know whether it would rain or not, it's better to use may and might. Remember, this sentence could be it might rain. Looking at this one, when we see Moby, and look at the way he's standing up this staircase, he's only using one hand. So Ben tells him, be careful, you might fall. That's actually something that may happen or might happen. You might fall or you may fall. Let's look at the next example. It says, I'm studying because we may have a test tomorrow. This means that Ben over here doesn't quite know whether he's having a test or not, but he's preparing just in case. So this sentence could also be said as, I'm studying because we might have a test tomorrow. Now let's see the negative form. May not or might not. Remember that might not can also be spelled like this, mightn't. It's the contraction, okay? Let's look at the first example. I may not have enough money. Another option is I mightn't have enough money. For what? For buying this magazine or comic. They might not win the game. That means that they think that these players are doing quite badly. So, considering the time and considering the match and maybe the opponents, it's not likely for them to win the match. Now let's talk about may. Only may for permission. You all know this one. You say it almost every day in class. You say, may I go to the restroom? Here we're using may. May is also used for permission. Let's look at some other examples. May I speak with Nikki? So that means that we're asking Nikki's mom for permission for talking to her. Can you see? May we sit with you? That means that Moby and Ben want to sit with them at the same table. We cannot use might in this occasion. We only use may for permission. This modal is also used for permission, the same as can. Can we sit with you? Or could we sit with you? Or maybe even would we sit with you? Yes. Now, today we're also going to check something that is talking about possibility, and it's using the verb to be. Remember that our verb to be has present form, which is, am, and are. And if we talk about the past form, is was and were. And these can be made into negative and interrogative by themselves. Let's pay attention to the examples. Nikki is supposed to study with us today. So, what is this? We're checking the verb to be and then supposed to. The next verb takes the stem form of the verb. That means the normal verb. Nikki is supposed to study with us today. How would we translate this into Spanish? We would say something like, se supone que Nikki vendría hoy a estudiar con nosotros, o va a venir hoy a estudiar con nosotros. Se supone, that is it. It's supposed to. After suppose, we're going to use to. Let's pay attention to another part of this illustration. We were supposed to study for the quiz yesterday. Sorry, Nikki. So, Nikki came, but one day late. So, she was not there. They were supposed to study for the quiz yesterday. Sorry, Nikki, that's what Ben is telling her. Se suponía que íbamos a estudiar ayer. Que íbamos, that means the were. We were going to study. We were supposed to study for the quiz yesterday. Sorry, Nikki. So that means that they are definitely not studying that day. Now, let's check be supposed to, but now with negative and questions. Again, the negatives of be would be isn't, aren't, am not. And in past, wasn't and weren't. Look at this. I'm not supposed to take him inside. So that means I'm not supposed to take him inside. He is not allowed to. Se supone que no debo de llevarlo dentro. Wasn't it supposed to rain today? That's more of a question form. ¿Qué no se supone que iba a llover hoy? That's it. Wasn't it supposed to rain today? You aren't supposed to eat ice cream before dinner. Okay, you aren't supposed to. Se supone que no debes. Can you see? Now, let's pay attention to vocabulary that we will need for this video. Let's start with this. This object over here, that is a leash. Again, repeat after me. Leash. Now, this word is use. In this picture, Ben is using the hammer. Use. Next one is science. The science class. Next word is scientific method. We have to take into consideration that the scientific method has different steps. Step number 1 is to ask a question. Step number 2 is to make a hypothesis. Hypothesis. Let's look at the spelling a little bit better. Hypothesis. A hypothesis is to guess what's happening with that question. You have to test your guessing. The guessing is a hypothesis. Next step is to do an experiment. An experiment is to test. Do whatever actions are necessary to test your hypothesis. After that, we have the end to come to a conclusion. The conclusion is the end of all your hypotheses. Let's check it. Here we have an example. What is the question? What's wrong with Vita? remember, Fighter is Ben's dog. The hypothesis is that Fighter doesn't like his food. The experiment they do is Fighter won't eat a different kind of food. We moved Fighter's bowl and he still won't eat his food. What was the hypothesis? Fighter doesn't like his food. The conclusion is that Fighter's food was in the wrong bowl. We're going to check that in the video later. So make sure that we should understand what the scientific method is. Here we have the scientific method. First, we start with a question. Then we make a hypothesis. Our hypothesis is our guessing, our idea. Then we do an experiment, and finally we come to a conclusion. Problem. Problem. This is our problem. Now this is solve. Solve. Ben has solved the problem. And last but not least, we're going to take our English notebook and we're going to copy the contents of the things that we have learned. And there is a small quiz of 10 questions. Please copy the questions. Remember, it is not necessary to copy the illustrations, but when we have only letters, please copy it all, don't be lazy. You have to copy it in your English notebook, and we are going to check our answers together in today's lesson. We're also going to check the videos again and check all of this in action. So make sure not to miss our class. I'm going to see you in a bit. And that's all for today's lesson. Bye!